Hello, welcome to episode 3 of Shelf Help. And help I need. I'm here actually with a book haul. This is the series that I'm doing where I go through all of my old hauls, I rewatch them, to painfully rewatch them. I count the books that I have read from those hauls, like books that I no longer have, and books that are unfortunately still on my shelves and are just unread. This is in part to make sure that my shelves are more so filled in with the books that I actually have read and are not just rotting there since 2016, since that is when I'm starting the hauls from. And then to also cull the books that maybe should just no longer be there. It's been an experience. Some big surprises, way too many classics for my liking. If you missed episode 1 and 2, I will have that linked that for you down below for your enjoyment whilst I torture myself. Without further ado, let's just get into me watching the next installment because I have already done that, so I'm doing this bit after. So you go watch that. Have fun. 7 years ago. Oh man, let's see what's next. I had a pretty rough couple of days, so I am really hoping nothing terrible, please. But let's see what she has to say. Hope you're good. So you might have noticed that there have not been a lot of hauls recently. Can I even see under those eyelashes is the real question here. So first off is the Harry Potter edition of the 20th anniversary, and I got myself a Gryffindor edition. So anyway. And this person in particular sent me 3. So first we have Dear Tolstoy, yours Gandhi. I do remember this person. It was a very sweet thing of them to do, but equally I did say and continue saying that I do not take books for review. So these were unsolicited and no longer is with me. Next one is called The Two Marias. Same story. It's the grown-ups gratitude doodle. Not really a book to read, though, is it? Bought this. It's hard to tell because... Oh, okay. I have read it and I really, really loved it. Read it and we were buddy reading this with Logan actually, and he also really loved it. We both loved it. I am aware this is one of the series that is just painfully awaiting the continuation, let's say. It's very much like Name of the Wind's pain levels. So we haven't actually continued with the second one. I know it is out. I do want to get to it, but at this point I wouldn't even mind rereading this. Not now though. Calm down. I don't know much about this book, but it sounds like something I would enjoy, and I mean, she was right. Uneducatedly so, but she was right. I definitely did not read this until I was already living in this flat, so it would have been after like 2021 is when I read this. And you know, it has the word loch, which means a lake in Scottish. No, it doesn't. Not with a K, so anyway. And I never really read anything about Scotland, and I don't even know if this is about Scotland because the synopsis only... It is not about Scotland. Spoiler, it has nothing to do with that. It says, they say that the thorn... Oh, what are you talking about? Then I got myself a book that I've been wanting to read, and I obviously, with my pace, I don't know when this is actually gonna happen, but it's Read Time. I do not think I have that anymore. I did keep it for a while, but I never kind of gravitated towards it, so I do not have that anymore. Emily Stewart, and she sent me a middle grade novel. Look how adorable! It does look adorable. I don't think I have it anymore, and I think I've read like 1 middle grade. It's not my most read age category, let's say. That's why I also state that I just don't do that, whilst I do feel awful. It was unsolicited, so it's not on me. Right. Last book I got, and this was like months ago. This is like my oldest purchase from the haul. It's called S, and it's by... You're kidding me. You are kidding me! So you're telling me that first, this bitch gives me Dune. And then second, this bitch gives me a book that needs to be read twice? Maybe I don't have it anymore. But the concept is so cool that I might have kept it. That's how much it's so entirely not on my TBR. I just thought it was a really cool concept, so I kept it for the longest of times. Okay, let's see what we got. Okay. What in the fuck is wrong with me? I will say the concept is very cool. It's like in a slipcase with spot UV. It was very revolutionary when this came out. But this is like a really heavy book. It is called Ship of Treasures, but the actual thing I think is called S. And the cool thing about this book is that it's super stylized. So you have like a book, but then it's like, it's literally riddled with that, like every single page, and it has like inserts and it has like documents, and it's like, it's such a cool premise, but this is gonna take 1500 years to read. I don't really even know how you read it. Like every single page is like this. How do you read this? Okay, I guess we're gonna attempt this. Wow. We'll attempt it. It'll be an immersive experience, but truly and fully wow. So that was the last one. I think this might be one of like the most unfortunate hauls we've watched so far, just because I had only 7 books in here, which is quite nice. I've read 1, but I no longer have 5 of them, and 1 gone into the TBR, but it's one that's probably gonna take me literally an eternity if we have a good time with it. But I am so intimidated. I'm just so intimidated by that book. I feel like it's going to take me forever. And also I have actually watched that video now like 3 weeks ago, and then I just continue doing other things because I can't start, but I will. I think we're going to read like 25 pages and then reevaluate very quickly after that whether we're continuing or not. It's such a cool premise, like it's such a cool concept, it's such a cool formatting, don't get me wrong, but I also just don't want to stall my reading for that long because I'm just not in that kind of mood at the moment. With that being said, I guess at some point I will try to pick this up so we can actually continue with the project, because I've just been reading other stuff because I'm so hesitant. But well, look at this. I need you just to like observe what the situation truly is, right? So first of all, you open it and it's like filled with stuff, and then you get like extra reading inside of it, which again is cool, and maybe I will enjoy this experience so much and it's gonna like fly by because I'm gonna be so invested, but at the same time it's just you get me, no? Like it's a law. Ooh, but that's cool. I'm scared. Immediately my top concern, the black writing, fine. The blue handwriting is a bit tricky to read. Maybe I'll get used to it. Their eyes are so weird. J.J. Abrams? The J.J. Abrams? This is literally me finally putting the pieces together. That this is like J.J. Abrams' book, like the producer that done like Star Trek, Mission Impossible, and then this is written by 2 authors. I think I'm approaching this book like this. I'm reading the main body, but only until like there's like a separation. So this is like a part 2 or whatever. This is the author's note. It's so chaotic. So I'm reading this bit and then I'm gonna go into the notes, and then I'm gonna continue with the main body until like some other new paragraph, and then I'm gonna catch up on the notes. It's a lot. First insert. We're not even past the author's notes, so... Oh, fabulous. This is not in English. Ugh, there's a translation though. Damn, Straka is not pleasant. Oh my god, this forward keeps going. I'm actually enjoying their conversations. The only thing I will say is that it does read really, really slowly because I'm not a big fan of the handwriting, especially with the blue pen. Again, the black one is kind of like easier to understand, but the blue one is like more cursive and it's not the easiest to read, and adding even more of a difficulty to following it because of the kind of legibility of it. So I don't know if that's going to be significantly putting me off, but so far it's okay. Literally not far in, but it feels like a lot, so I'm just gonna work my way through the translator's note. before we even start the story. And then once the story starts, I think as I said, I'm gonna try and give it like 20-25 pages, and then we're gonna make a decision. But very fun formatting. I do appreciate it. Do I wish that the font was a little bit easier to read? Yes. But outside of that, very cool. I wonder if the handwriting is like the two authors writing it themselves. That'd be kind of cool. So first of all, I am just about to go into the chapter 2, which actually feels insane because I feel like I've been reading this book forever. Granted, I feel like I also just didn't have a lot of time to read, and because I kept thinking like, oh, I should be reading. It just felt like forever, even though in reality I think this was like 4 sittings or whatever. But it is definitely a slow going one. So that's for sure. I have surpassed the 25-page mark that we set for ourselves. I'm on page 37. But because, again, everything is going so slowly, I have come across a couple of concerns. Let me take you here, actually. I'm just gonna hope that you can see it. I don't know, I don't remember if I already told you, but it's basically the blue pen talking to the black pen. Basically, the story is the black pen, which also is a red pen, and the blue pen is sometimes a purple pen. There's also yellow and orange there some point. Sorry, yellow and green. Anyway, the black pen is a postgrad student who has been kind of like fucked over by his, I want to say like a PhD mentor called Moody, who has basically like got him kicked out and is stealing his research. And the blue pen is a current undergrad who just found this book where the black pen had like some notes, I'm assuming, and they just started writing back and forth, and now they're just leaving this book for each other. So now we're going through also kind of like learning about one another, but also deep diving into the theories about the research, about who the author was, and going and exploring all of the stuff that is actually written in here. I am past the point where I was like, oh, you know, we'll get here and then we'll reconvene and then perhaps we're going to just nope out. So we're past that bit. I am intrigued, but I am equally like not rushing to pick this up, which I found out the hard way, like through just like not really reading, because this is not a book that I would pick up relax per se, because it is quite elaborate. I don't want to say intense because it's not like intense, but it's elaborate. Okay, so there are some points that I really enjoy. One, it's unusual, and I love reading the side chats, so the characters talking to one another, especially when it comes to actual personal stuff, which, you know, I don't know if surprisingly, but it definitely is more prevalent than I thought it would be. So for that reason, I really love it. 2, obviously, it is fun to have little insertables, although sometimes we have ones like this one where I started reading and then I was like, you know what, nah. And then some other times it is just really fun to have, but it's also fun to look forward to. And I'm quite invested in their relationship, their partnership, their personal lives. I am really enjoying learning more about them. Sometimes there's a little cringe parts. It does come across a little bit like dated, but at the same time, I'm really enjoying that. Now, the drawbacks. The drawbacks are mainly twofold, and they're not small. One of them is smaller, and I already mentioned that. The blue pen, the girl, I really find it so hard to me sometimes to go and read those entries depending on how scribbled they are, because the handwriting is so difficult for me to process somehow. The typewriter one, like the one that just kind of writes in all caps, which obviously great way for us to kind of distinguish who's who. Much easier for me than the other one, but that does slow me down, because then it's not just the slowing down part. It's not a race, but it is pulling me out of the story if I'm just like trying to read. And sometimes I will literally just give up on the word. I think it's the eyes specifically just look like L's. Not only does it look like an L, it looks like an RL. So it looks like 2 letters, whatever. It's a struggle for me, okay? And then a bigger issue is that I don't know if I'm really enjoying the actual main book, which is well, I say the actual main book, but the main text, which is the, you know, like Ship of Theseus, the actual book that they're writing about and around. I've also asked on Instagram when I posted about this because I was just curious. So I know that some people will read the entire chapter of the main text and then go back and look at the comments. There's people who are going to read the entire first, like the story first, and then go back and reread with the notes. And then there's people who will do the same thing but then read the notes in the way that they're written as well, so blue plus black, and then go into the different colors because that is another time that they're going through it. So this is where my issue currently lies. The main text is written in the writing style that I just don't normally really vibe with. I am only 35 pages in, but genuinely does feel double and or even more because of the formatting. I was really into it, but then currently I am struggling because I didn't love the main story. The main story, I don't even know how to explain it. The main guy, we now know that his name starts with an S at least. So we just call him S. S is a prevalent symbol in the book. We have it drawn out in multiple places. Relevant to the conspiracy theories, this author is just a conspiracy theory magnet. Like the theories are about him and his life and identity and whatnot. Where was it? It literally was like everywhere now, I can't find it. So the main character just basically now goes by S, and he has this intuition, and the intuition, we're thinking, oh, I found it, comes from the fact that, so he'll also see this symbol everywhere that he goes. But yeah, the guy has amnesia, so he doesn't remember much, but we're thinking this intuition is from the amnesia. He meets this woman. At that point I was like, oh, this is getting a little bit more interesting because it's a little bit more linear, because otherwise it was very jumbled and jumpy, at least to me. I mean, I have been reading this jumbled and jumpy, so that could be part of the issue. So lyrical, the writing style, and I'm just not only normally not a big fan of that, but when it fails to draw me into the actual story, that's worse. This is already set in the sea, and it's, you know, we're currently on a ship, so we finally got onto the ship, but overall it's very like salty and muggy. And you know, as a setting for me, one of my least favorite settings. So already not fantastic. Then you add on one of my kind of least favorite writing styles if the story is lacking, because none of these are hard rules. Like, it can work in specific ways, and if it's written really well in a way that I really enjoy and I get really invested, but I'm just not getting anything. I like, from time to time when there's a little bit of a dialogue, I get in more invested, but the dialogue is sparse and far between. You know, at the end of this chapter, I got into a point where I was a little bit more invested because, again, there was like dialogue and there was like a tiny driplet of humor. The humor is much more prevalent in the side notes, but the main story is where it struggles. So it's really annoying because I've been reading like the main text, getting kind of bored, almost skimming some parts, and then I would get into the side chat and I was like, okay, this is fun. Turn the page, now back to the main text, and I'm kind of like struggling again. And then sometimes the main text is fine and I'm like, yay, but then, you know, it goes like really up and down, and it's very just frustrating. So I'm gonna give a different approach a try. I am going to listen to the audiobook, because there is an audiobook for the main story, so the Ship of Theseus. I'm going to try and listen, and once the chapter is done, I'm going to go back and then read all of the fun bits that I can read by myself, you know, and all the side chats. So I'm gonna give that a go, and if that doesn't work, I might give this like, I might put this away, but I'm hopeful that we're not gonna get to do that. Regardless, I already said that I would be keeping this copy because it is just a piece of art.
There, Gemini. He dips his biscuit in the water, holds it there a while so it can soften, then works his teeth against it. He manages to tear off a few shreds before he has to dunk the ancient bread again.
Blinded, but will do. So technically I've listened to the second chapter and then actually a little bit of the third. So I'm about like 70 pages for the main. Actually, the audiobook even made me double down on my assessment of the fact that I just think that the main text is so pretentious. So I can't do it. Even more so that I even the side notes just did not rescue it anymore for me. I'm just currently not in the mood. I do still think that this book is really interesting and fun and very, very different, but also listening to the main book and then going back to reading is just not the same. I actually preferred when I did it page by page because it was like way more fresh in my mind, but I also couldn't help but just drift away from the audiobook because it's just so pretentious. You know what it reminded me of? So if you like that, you might like this as well. better than I do. Starless Sea, it's that kind of thing. It's just very pretentious in the main text. And then I actually finally did lose some of the inserts. They just fell out while I was reading, catching up, so that was also annoying. But anyway, I made it to like page 60 of, you know, reading the sides, and then I just realized I no longer care. So we're gonna put this to rest, which is a shame because I did, like, for the first like I don't know, 15 pages. I was so into it and I was really, really excited to dive into it. It's just so fantastically different and engaging, but sadly the main story is just not for me. It's not for me. So we're gonna move on to the next one and hope we're gonna have a better situation. But technically a DNF, but I'm keeping this because it's art. Very grateful that I'm gonna be tiny on the screen because I look like an old shoe today. So I know you're reading this title and you're saying, gee, didn't you just had a book haul? Yes, you probably did, and it's an issue. Do you not see that? What I'm trying to say that these are my July buys. I might actually just never enlist these videos. Maybe it's for the best that they're gone. In complete random order, those are the ones that I've been wanting for a while. Okay, I'm nervous now. The nerves are kicking in. Now. So first up is Elusive by... Ooh, Elusive. Do I still have it? This requires a check. Interestingly, I do not have that anymore, but I couldn't tell you why. So that normally means that someone said that it wasn't good. And then I was like, well, I haven't read it yet, so we probably never will. I would have now. So that didn't age too well. I was so glad because so many of them are floppy, so this is the floppy number 1. That still holds up. I do like a floppy book. Next is the book that I've seen everywhere in BookTube and in Bookstagram, and that's When Dimple Met Rishi. I really... Oh. So apparently we're getting steps in today. This is getting tricky because it's in the area of my bookshelves that is very messy and double stacked, and I hate double stacking, and it's actually big part of the reason why I'm doing this. You know, I'm tired because I'm speaking to the microphone, like looking at the microphone as if that's where you guys are. That's not where you guys are. This is where you are. Fearful I'm actually missing something and I will actually find it later, but if I will, then I will, but I couldn't find it now, so we're just gonna say that it is on hold. Family are setting up on her, so... It's nice that I actually started talking about what the books are about at this point. It only took me like a year. This is called Brain on Fire. Hey! I have actually read this recently because it was in part of the Read 20, like the blind edition where Logan picked the books on the shelf and then I rolled the die, which you can see there actually. So, I have read it. I've read it. And this year as well. Who would have thought? Not me. A book that is all over the internet at the moment, and it's One of Us is Lying. Ooh, One of Us is Lying. I have read that. Then also watched the show later. Actually had a decent time with it considering, but then again, never thought of it after. And which is fine, also. But we're going 50-50. Not too bad. It could be worse. It might be worse still. I'll take it. I go into these, especially the early ones, with very low expectations for the ratio of read and not read. It's okay. It's okay. Next book is another book that I've been wanting for forever. You know what else is taking forever? This bloody video. So I got My Lady Jane and oh, My Lady Jane. You know what? I haven't hold it. I haven't hold it. Which now I'm a little bit sad about because this could have been a fun read. But here we are. I'm gonna go to a meetup with her in August here in Edinburgh and I'm just so bummed, and I've just finished gathering. Is this gonna be Schwab? Of Shadows this month, and I really wanted to check out her other books, so I got myself Vicious because... Vicious! I have read. Score. Still going 50-50. Keeping up the 50-50. Will we actually end on a 50-50? I am extremely excited I did like Vicious. Not as much as everyone else I think liked Vicious, but I did like it. To read. Talking about continuing in the series, I obviously had to get The Dream Thieves. Oh, The Dream Thieves. I have read it. I still have very fond memories for The Raven Cycle. That one in particular was just a bit car heavy. It's a weird thing to say, but I just do not have any passion for cars, really. And I think the author does, and it was really clear in the book, which is sweet. it was just unexpected for me.
Next is the book that is actually a collaboration of 13 authors and 13 booktubers.
Can already tell you I don't have it anymore. I don't even remember what the book is, but I know for a fact I don't have anything that fits that bill.
And that is Because You Love to Hate Me.
Yeah, I don't have it.
The book is Wolf by Wolf by Ryan Grodin.
I don't think I have it anymore.
There's another book that I've ordered that hasn't been delivered yet because I bought it used, so it's gonna take like a while to get here. And that's Battle Royale.
Oh my god! Stop! Stop! I was really hoping for something light. Love this for me. Just another light reading of over 600 pages written in tiny minuscule font. We had Dune, now we have this. It is actually the same used copy though that I did get. You can tell by just how hammered this is. Oh, the dedication is so odd. I dedicate this to everyone I love. I is like slanted, even though it might not be appreciated. Damn, alright. Alright. I was trying to check what year this was released in. How is that not information in the book? Let me Google. Oh, sorry. It's April 1999, so maybe not quite a classic. On to the TBR, I guess. I'm not happy about it. I know conceptually this stands for something that I should be very interested in. I'm just tired of reading tomes for this project. I really am, so we'll see.
I've been wanting to read that since I was a teenager and I just didn't get...
That actually is a total lie because I did not know about this one as I was a teenager, so liar.
And just because I noticed I never actually speak about the books that I get on Audible, I think I'm gonna mention to you what I got on Audible as well.
Oh, I've never done this before, actually. Huh? I don't remember ever doing this. I don't know what the rules are. That's a curveball. What do you mean? Do we count this? Do we not count this? I think I'm not gonna count this because I'm afraid. Or I'll count this if I read it for the stats.
Listening to the Lightning Struck Heart previously, so I...
Okay. Lightning Struck Heart is actually hilarious, by the way.
An Order to Live, a North Korean girl's journey to freedom.
I have read it. Maybe we will count it. But it's not a physical TBR, so it feels a bit cheeky.
Next book, which is Night Film, is a dark...
Technically also, yes, and read it, but I DNF'd it. Unpopular opinion. Is this the beginning of my unpopular opinions? Actually, I don't know. I never came back to give it another go as well. I think I wanted to. We're not gonna count it. Also, I did like read a chunk of it, so we'll count it as read.
Shit tons of books for someone that reads extremely slowly.
Still true. And that's that. Next up, 160 pages in already, so that is the excellent news. Really enjoying it. As expected, the setup is kind of similar to the Hunger Games. This was released before, so I just want to make that very clear. But obviously we hear this comp to the Hunger Games quite often. There is a classroom that every year is randomly selected, and basically we're going on a trip with this classroom and then they all suddenly got put to sleep, and when they wake up they are told that they have to either kill one another or die. That really is the choice. And that is it. They have these metal chain devices on their necks that can explode their heads, basically, essentially, if they disobey or don't follow the rules. And there's also this area, they're on an island, and every now and then they are being told which area is like forbidden and they have to like vacate it, or again, their head explodes. I'm enjoying it so far quite a lot. There are like 40 people, and it's a little bit difficult for me to see which one's which. Not gonna lie. As we're narrowing it down as to how many people there are, it becomes a little bit easier from like context clues and like attach the name to the story. There are like snippets of these kids like past and how they got to know each other and like the quirks that they have, and I'm finding it really nice actually. I am enjoying it. It is again like a very big book though, so I'm hoping that I don't like slow down too much, but I'm currently finishing up that reading crochet project. So far, so good. A little update on how it's going. I just reached part 3 of the book, so I'm right here. I'm not as much involved, I guess, as I was throughout the beginning middle. I'm still having a good time, don't get me wrong, and there's definitely some pieces that are very kind of like heart-wrenching, and there's this fun, I guess is the word, but not quite like suitable considering the themes and everything. But there's this fun dynamic between the dire, horrible, shitty situation that these kids are in, the seriousness of the topic, the seriousness of questioning the government, all of the horrid feelings that they have brewing inside of them, be that from the last year's participation or something that happened to their family, like the uncle of one of the characters, very validly just the situation that they're currently in, and seeing their, you know, lifelong friends. Like at that age, this is your family, this is the group of people that you're seeing daily from like the age of, I don't know, 6. So this is all they've really known, and seeing these people being turned into your enemies and weighing your life against theirs is obviously very not grand. So we have all of that turmoil happening, and then these quiet moments when people group up and find their favorite person and then falling asleep hiding somewhere and talking about crushes. It's really interesting seeing that kind of dichotomy happening, because you have these kids who are forced into this very serious situation, and then whilst, you know, you can hear guns outside, you're still talking about your current or previous crush, or you're seeking out your crush. Comparing them. The crush talk is actually like a significant part of the book because we have so many characters and we swap the POV sometimes as well. And all of them at some point or another talk about a crush. So it really reminds you of just what stage of life these teenagers are in. And it's like a good awakening throughout the book because you can get easily lost and see these characters as older than they are, but then they talk so innocently about crushes and love, these tiny rebellions that they find themselves, especially this one, our main character is a big kind of like rock music fan, and that is very much like outlawed in this book. So it's the tiny rebellions that are turned into something bigger because of the situation that they're currently in. I think the scope of the characters, I think they did do a good job kind of trying to make it digestible, but even then we have 42 characters, and I do think it's a lot, and it's perhaps adding to the 600-700 page mark, but even then I feel like this is why I'm not necessarily having the best of time currently with it, is because it could have been condensed for that maximum experience. Although I do think this is a choice that probably helps us be a bit more involved. It does grant us these moments of purity and tenderness, and I do appreciate them more than like some of the actiony bits. So I'm not saying to cut those out at all, quite the opposite. I think that some of the in-between and the traveling and the scheming sometimes feels quite extended. Some of the conversations, because we're having these very similarly placed through multiple POVs, could have maybe been differentiated a little bit more or taken out for the sake of making this a little bit shorter. I just don't necessarily, what I'm getting at, I don't know if I would have personally enjoyed this if this was already like wrapping up. I'm currently on just over 400 pages and I feel like I'm kind of ready to get there, but I'm not there. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm still at like, I think it's like, what was it, 20 people or something? 17, but that's still quite a lot. So it's just dragging a little bit. Footage corrupted. So this is take 2 of me trying to update you on this because I did finish it yesterday. But I do suspect I didn't DNF it just because of the sheer amount of effort and power I put into going through these 600, 700, 800, depending on the edition that you have, pages. I just feel like it didn't need to be that long. I swear to God, I felt like half of, like good 40% of this was just people talking about which crush they have and who they like and who they had like a secret love for. And again, that's good and fine, but I just stopped caring. I want to say I really enjoyed like 60-70% of this, and then it just got so repetitive, even though things really escalate towards the end and we start losing people that we obviously followed a little bit more throughout the story. Because again, this is like a Hunger Games. We are expecting those numbers to go down. By the point that we reached it, I started to disconnect a little bit. I feel like my attention span was just leaving the room, which was really unfortunate because I was really invested at the start, in the middle. My honest opinion is just that this needed to be cut down a little bit, and all of this crush chat felt so surface level. And I understand the point that we were making with that being, again, it's like youth and young love and the type of dichotomy between the seriousness of the situation and the characters and with the stage of life that they're in. I get what we were doing, like I really do. I just felt like it was so rinsed and repeated. I also understand that this may be different in a different translation, or this is not the only translation that is out there. Actually, I got the ebook and the translation there is different. I know for a fact I was supposed to feel much more towards the end than I did, and I do think it was that kind of distance between the shallow levels of like some of the small side stories of the characters that we lose like midway. When we didn't even follow them from the beginning, actually had me way more touched than the main characters, because I think we just really spent so much time talking about crushes. And I wouldn't have had a problem with that if that developed somewhere. Not talking even developing relationships, but developing like emotionally further. Instead, I felt like we're just repeating that constantly on the same level. I should have had the best time at that point. It should have culminated, it should have climaxed, and instead I just felt like I was just a fly on a wall, more so interested in the trash that I could nibble on the side rather than the main story. What an analogy. But I did finish it, and I will watch the movie, and perhaps that will give me what I was lacking at the end of this book. But that's so important. I'm so pissed off. I'm so pissed off because I'm starting to feel the bad effects of this. And honestly, should I have DNF'd it? Maybe. And I need to carry that energy forward, that if I need to be stricter. So you hear it now. And it's those kind of like 3 stars that get you, but I think it's just unfortunate because in this time, I feel like I was tricked. I was bamboozled by this book. I was so sure I would like it as well. I think I need to be less stubborn and I need to be more strict. This is... one more 2017 video after this, and then we're actually done with the year. But let's see what this one brings. It's 14 minutes long. And we've changed an angle. Many exciting things happening.
Hope you're good. A different angle, I know.
Hey.
So the first one is A Closed Uncommon Orbit by Becky Chambers, which is a...
Hey. Aw, I have read it and I still own it. It's still my favorite, like one of my favorite series ever. So, good shout.
One Dark Throne by Kendra Blake, and this is the second book in...
Oh, the second one, so I have read it. I wasn't sure because I don't think I've read the third one, but I don't think I've ever owned the third one. So I have had that and I read it, but I also haven't hauled it since. I'm gonna just pop it into Red because I did read it.
Extremely happy about the complete set of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
We did make the rule before for the series that I just needed to start it. So we're gonna just, for the sake of it, count it as like one. And I have read the first one, so I'm gonna put it as read, although I know it's a little bit cheeky because I haven't actually finished the series. I think I've read like a couple, but it's been so long now that I can't quite recall exactly where I stopped, because I also stopped in the middle. No particular reason, because I do love them. I just need to get back to it at some point. Maybe I should just like restart this to be like, no. Listen, we'll have other stuff, I'm sure. I almost got myself there with the excitement because I know I like it and I haven't finished it. But no, let's just keep it as like, got it and I had like made a start in this. It's good enough for now.
So got Blue Lily Blue and The Raven King by...
I will count them separately for this one. I know I'm all over the place, but I have also read all of them. Wait a second. So far we only have it as like read them. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things noted, even though I didn't. But like, to be honest, in my defense, Hitchhikers is sometimes published in one big volume, so it's just easier. Also, it's like 5, so it just feels like a lot to put in there. And also, I can't remember which one I stopped at, so you know what? Just to not complicate things further. But we have 5 things on the list, and all of them are read. This will never happen again, so let's like take a moment. Because again, it will probably never happen again.
You probably know about the week that I've done that was called 7 Days of Top 7s, And so the next 3 purchases are from your comments of what you recommended to me. So first one is Packing for Mars. It's called The Curious Science of...
I have read this. This was like an odd... Oh, wait. There were 2 very similar ones, so I can't now remember if I read this one or the other one. Okay, it is the... Oh, yeah, I read it. I don't think I read it like fully, but I picked like the little excerpts and topics that I liked, so we'll count.
Then this little book, which is called Some, and is...
Some is still one of my favorite things that I've read, although I don't know if it would be if I read it now. I would hope so, because I have very fond memories. It was so weird. It's like perfect speculative, like bite-sized little weird takes. Loved it so much. It's such a tiny, minuscule book. I still have it as well. I always will have it. Loved it. I'm now like really hoping we somehow managed to go through this entire thing and I read everything. But whoever recommended this, because this is clearly going from the recommendations from the 7 Days of 7, thank you, because that was fantastic.
The third recommendation was Descender.
Who's put me on this? These recommendations popped off like big time. I love Descender. It was one of my favorite graphic novels, I think, or like comics rather. Everyone gets very like up in their panties about the when I misuse those. I loved it. I read the entire series. It's finished. It's only 6 volumes, by the way, so if you want something that's like not too scary, that is a good one to go with. But fantastic also. Sci-fi, comic, beautiful, fun story. Well, fun. Sad, but you know. So I have read that too. I'm so pleased with myself here. Look at me, taking recommendations and actually reading them. How polite. How demure.
Speaking of comic books, I finally got Nimona.
I have also read Nimona. Will we actually make it to the end of this video with everything read? We are actually not even halfway through the video, so maybe not.
I currently work at the university, and during the summer...
Oh my god, I worked at the university here, wow.
Where there was this clear out, I suppose, of the library there, and they had this...
Zero memory of this, so that's boding well.
That was uprooted by Naomi Novak.
Oh, we have lost our track, my guys. I have not read this, but I do think I still have it. I had no idea that I got this from like the library sale. I'm actually doubting myself now. Let me check. But I was so certain I still have it, but do I not have it? I do have it. Okay, uprooted. Going on to the TBR. Interesting. It's also thicker than I thought than I remembered it. Blurred by Robin Hobb. Interesting. I've never actually read anything by Naomi Novik, and I feel like it's probably about time. So interesting. And on to the TBR, but we did break our pristine record so far, but I'm still gonna take it because this is impressive to me.
And it's called The Sellout.
Ah, The Sellout. I don't have it anymore.
The next book is by Morgan Matson, and I've seen this book everywhere, this and the other.
The Unexpected Everything. I want to say I no longer have it. Actually, I'm pretty certain I no longer have it.
So I got his new book, They Both Die.
A new book. Wow. They Both Die at the End. I have read it.
And that is called One Punch Man, and it's the 8th and the 9th, so if you also...
Okay, 8th and the 9th. I have read one of them. Maybe both of them? I think maybe both of them. But I also kind of lost interest in it.
And the very last book, I believe, in this particular haul, is called Invisible Planets.
Oh, okay. I do have it. It needs to go on a TBR. Wait. I do really enjoy Asian sci-fis and also speculative writing, so I'm hoping this is going to be that kind of thing. And this has been on, you know, survived numerous unhauls, and I'm still hoping that I will enjoy it. The only thing is that I'm not always the best with short stories, so I think that is why I still haven't read it. But I'm happy to have this on the TBR. I've realized that I think I lost all of the footage of me reading this, so we have moved on to Uprooted, and I have a verdict for you already, but because we're missing the footage, let me like slightly reenact it for you. I have just started this book. This is a retelling of a fairy tale, more so a collection of folklore of the eastern areas, or the mid to eastern areas of Europe, because retellings and me are not historically not the best of friends. We follow a girl who is growing up in this village that is overseen by this ancient, very magical wizard called Dragon, Contrary to my belief for since 2017, it is actually not a dragon or a shapeshifter. It is just a person that we're calling a dragon. A little bit misleading there, a little bit of like false advertising, but okay, okay. And every 10 years, I believe, the dragon goes to the village to select kind of like an apprentice, but it's a girl and everyone kind of assumes this is like some shifty business as well. So if all the families start prepping if they think that their daughter, because it's always a daughter, so you can see why it's sus, how to survive, how to like serve the best, yada yada, and to say goodbye. And our girl has a best friend who is, it's like unsaid, but everyone kind of knows, suspects that the friend is going to be the one being picked because she has like all of the kind of markers for the usual pick. Our main character gets picked instead, to everyone's shocker, and then gets whisked away to the dragon's castle manor, and then learns that she has some magical powers of her own. And we also have like this maleficent forest with your folklore creatures living and dwelling inside of it, and this forest creeps out of the bounds and attacks the villagers, and eventually it falls to our girl to go on some sort of rescue mission for certain things that I don't want to say. For about 100 pages of this book, I was having such a good time. And at that point, because I started it a little bit later, this is also the Patreon book club read for the month of, what month is it? July. So at the time that I started, a lot of people have either already read this or were, you know, beginning, or a good portion of people were DNFing. So I was going in very scared and skeptical, and found myself having like such a good time for like 80, 100 pages. We're talking about that portion. I thought the writing was actually very lyrical, but it was walking on the good side of line for me, which, you know, me and lyrical writing are just like not the best of friends, and it is a tricky situation, tricky relationship, but I was having a really good time. I got into the story very quickly, I got invested, everything was easy to follow despite it being quite like wordy. I enjoyed how the stakes were contained. Everything was moving really quickly as well, which I think helped kick it off. And the banter was there. The girl was a little bit insufferable, but I just took it like a champ. I was like, that's okay, we're allowing this. I very quickly learned that this is not YA like how I thought it was. It absolutely is not, and it is very grim in places. There was some animal stuff that made me really sad. Granted, there were a couple of people who said that this was their 5-star read some years ago. They might be rereading it. Some people said that they really enjoyed it, but there were a lot of people who were trying it and then DNFing it at like 30% mark. So when I started, I don't think it was quite a 30% mark, but when I started and I read like 100 pages and I was really having a great time to the point where I was looking forward to picking it back up, I was just really confused. I was like, am I just the problem child, but like in the reverse order, which is quite a nice change. It's very unusual for me. But I was so happy because my intention always is to have a good time, and I was having a lovely time. So went in scared, but got into it very quickly and was having a great time. This, however, is how the chapters, I think 13 to 17 found me. It was so dull and it was so boring, and despite the fact that these were the chapters where they literally are in the midst of the action scenes, we're having the most like stuff happen. We're like in these magical, horrible forests. Oh my god, I can't continue like this. This is where I started noticing the writing style, and that is where it stopped being good for me. This book really suffered from, then she did this, and then this happened, and then this, and then this, and then this. I don't think I've ever voiced like this ick of mine, because it's really not that serious, and it doesn't happen all that often. When we have like her belly swelled with magic, or she could feel the magic in her belly, I don't know what it is. And genuinely, if you just swapped it with like stomach or something, it would be immediately fine. It makes me feel so uncomfortable. This is a me thing. I think it just reminds me of like Anyway, this is so not the point. I was really struggling at this point. I was actually this close to just calling it as well, but thankfully I was doing this during the sprint, so I kind of pushed forward. And I found myself at the end of that thing, like, you know, we change the setting and we go into like a different act and we move into a completely different part of the story. We actually leave one of the main characters a little bit behind. Us with the girl continue with the plot. And I do wonder if us leaving that other main character behind is what really solidified this for me, because I did, granted, had a better time with the beginning of second half, because I don't know what the percentages are because I'm on the physical book, but that has to be 65-70%. At that point, the stakes that were fine at the beginning continue to an extent being the same stakes towards the end, and I just lost my interest in that. I think the intrigue didn't carry. We lost one of the main characters, so the banter was gone. There were some other characters, which was okay. I think we have increased in the amount of time we spent actually like talking to characters, which is nice because this is very like main text heavy book, very description heavy book. Like there was a lot of detail that we spent page time talking about that I wish that we just condensed a little bit. I did not find that we have actually explored the characters a lot, and because one of the main objectives is to like save a certain character, I feel like I would have cared if I actually gotten to know that character a bit more. I also wanted to know my POV better, and then all the surrounding characters that are more main as well. It really is not a very character focused book, and I think that is also partially why I really struggled, because it's just, I don't know, the scale of it didn't mix. I don't know. At the end of it, I've decided to DNF this because I think it's putting me in a slump, and we can't have that happening. Like, I genuinely am not excited to pick this back up. I don't really care about the plot. I don't really care about the characters. So there's just nothing to keep me in this. So it is a DNF. I am actually getting ready to film the magical readathon announcement, so I thought I would pop on to update you on how it's actually going with this project, because I feel like we started this, did I even get to prep magical readathon at that point, and now it's just been taking a while. I have started the last book of the project, which is Invisible Planets, which contains 13 short stories from various sci-fi writers. And so the first, okay, so hold on. The book is actually, I thought it was gonna be all different writers, but it's actually not. It is sections, and a couple of writers get a couple of stories, which is actually kind of cool because you get to experience multiple attempts, I guess, by the same author and kind of get into their mind a little bit more, which I actually really prefer over having all of them to be different, because by the time that you kind of get to grips of some of their unique styles, normally like the jig is over and then you just kind of go home. But this is something new that I did not know about myself, that I have this preference, and now I do, and that's quite nice. I've started this last night and I got the first one by the first writer. So the first story is called The Year of the Rat. I actually really enjoyed it. I think the fact that I didn't put it down because I was reading it before bed is also promising. And I even dipped a little bit into the next one, but I did actually get like just genuinely too sleepy and I started falling asleep, so I just put it aside. But it only took me genuinely like a couple of pages to get into the story, which is so key when you only have a very limited amount of pages to hook someone and get invested. Following a couple, well, kind of mainly one, college or university graduate who is really struggling to find a job, so basically signs up to the army. But the army in this scenario is someone who is assigned to fight rats. And at first I thought it was just like a kind of a figure of speech. Actually, at the very beginning, I was kind of hoping that the main characters are actually rats. Sadly, I will admit that that was not the case, and I was genuinely sad about that. But I also never really know what to expect of sci-fi, and that is, I think, the beauty of it and why I agree with this genre so much, because you just never know. The world is your oyster, you can do whatever you want. This one wasn't necessarily like sci-fi in the way that you would maybe think of sci-fi. Science side of the story was that said rats were genetically modified, and then there's like a little twist-ish at the end, which obviously I'm not gonna say. And I was also worried when it came to kind of army and military themes, because that's historically not something that I care or vibe with. A lot of sci-fi, I think, is also just very much like critiquing a social commentary on either regimes or ideas, which I also think is why I enjoy the genre so much as well. With sci-fi, sometimes I feel like maybe more so than anything else, a lot of it is the idea of whatever modifications we made to the reality and why those were made and what are we exploring theme-wise. It's less so about the journey and more so about the message. This is, again, the character that, you know, did everything right and just couldn't get a job, but at the same time didn't necessarily really want a job. It was the whole thing. The story starts by, it kind of is split into two POVs. One is the current time and one is a little bit like a whiles back when he started in the army with a friend from college who didn't quite like adapt to the new regime, was more keen, I think, originally than the main character. And we start by noting that this secondary character, like this friend, is dead. We kind of jump back and forth time-wise, but it's made very easily for us to follow which paragraph is which, because said friend will be actually present and alive. So it's a very simple but very genius way of making it super clear without having to put in a lot of extra work in the text to show where we are and when we are. And I thought, like, again, it's such a simple thing, but it takes a lot of work both from the author because of the limited page time and also from the reader because it comes like immediately clear. And I also really appreciated that, so that was nice. We also then kind of like descend into madness and start questioning the entire system, and then see like the enemy's POV as well a little bit through. Again, it's a bit tricky to talk about this because it is so short and I don't want to spoil anything, because I do think it's a worthwhile read. I'm intrigued throughout, and that is hard to do through a short story when you just don't have that much of a time to get invested. It also had an undercurrent of horror in it, actually, in parts. It was a little bit gory, it was a little bit sad. It's kind of like a good mixture of a lot of things and a lot of emotions, and I really enjoyed it. I think I wrote it as like a 3.54 out of 5. Okay, I finished the second story. I actually really liked it. I liked it more than the first one, and it's probably like 4.55 stars. Basically, we are a high-achieving worker who is cynical of life, but also feels like everything's slipping by. Has a lot of symptoms that are given a very odd name, essentially anxiety, loss of libido, insomnia, all the good jazz. And he's forced into this rehab, and in this rehab facility they are stripped away of any type of technology in a world where everything is technology. So there's holograms, there's the sky is a Pantone color, robotics, and people have installed ads in their foreheads or in their chest. Again, the main character is quite cynical and quite fed up, and he meets a woman in this rehab, and I'm gonna leave it at that. But there's also time discussion, so you know I was all for that. It's also about like free will and the meaning of life and the sadness of being a cog in the works of someone else. I really enjoyed it. This one also felt much more sci-fi than the first one with the rats. I did notice that this author loves like an animal being included, because there's dogs in this one. I did note a couple of lines that I quite liked. And the dogs came in with the third kind of punishment for people who have committed crimes, becoming experimental subjects for consciousness transfer operations in Lijiang, I'm not sure, so that they can be turned into dogs, and then those dogs are kind of roaming around everywhere. I also quite like this line, is that the ancient city at night is filled with the spirit of consumerism, but we can't find anywhere we want to go because mood. I really enjoyed this one. Not only was it really easy to read, but it was also a little bit closer to the Black Mirror type of episode than the first one. The first one would kind of fit as well, but I definitely preferred this one. I really like this author's work so far. I am super excited to go into the third and final story by them, and then I also kind of equally sad to move on to someone else. And I'm just gonna continue. This is actually me having a really good time for the first time in this entire episode, I feel. Like, truly a good time. Not just like, oh, intrigued, having fun, and then, whoop. I mean, I say that. Please do not disappoint, but obviously this is harder because we don't know. Why, hello there. Would you care to have a little sleepover with me? I am, as you can tell, in the living room. Logan came back yesterday saying he's not feeling well, so we're separating for a little bit. Just on the off chance that maybe then it doesn't spread. But we'll see. Long time no see, not for you, obviously. I wanted to update you because I've been jumping so much between projects and filming little bits in between. I genuinely cannot tell you when I updated you, basically. So, in case I didn't, I did finish the last story by the first author that we had 3 stories from. This one was my least favorite of the first 3. I did, however, notice some stuff that was quite consistent. All 3 stories were told from the first person. It's kind of like the unrequited love, and also a little like a dash of obsessive behavior from the main character surrounding some sort of love interest. Love interest is not always necessarily like the massive part of the story, but it's always like there and prevalent, and it's never super healthy really at all. Like, it's so this story is set up in a world that was like kind of walled in between, like, oh, and actually kind of, this has been so long ago now, I don't remember what they called. Basically the inside town and the outside town area that, you know, they were like thriving and didn't want to let in like the outsiders, right? So they walled it up, but then eventually ran out of like resources and people power, and there was other stuff that was like happening really well on the outside that they contact before because they didn't want to share, but now they want to share their resources. Again, story all this time. And then I also started on the new author, and this is a woman actually. This is the author, and I am in the middle-ish of the first story. I will, however, say I have been stuck in this particular spot for like definitely like a week or 2 even. No, that can't be right. At least a week. I'm enjoying it. But the issue is that I often pick it up just before bed, which is very ironic seeing that where we are now. So I do not learn from my errors. And then I fall asleep, which is great because, you know, it puts me to sleep. So that's fantastic. But it's not great because I only get to read like 1 or 2 pages at a time. I've been slumping a little bit, but I'm enjoying it when I pick it up. I just don't want to pick it up. That's the issue. Time is weird. I don't know when I last spoke with you. This continues to be a reoccurring problem for me. But I am here in this book. It's going so slowly, but I am actually enjoying it. So there's like nothing in me that wants to DNF this. I do, however, understand how this is one of these books that could be like sat on my nightstand and I would sometimes pick it up, have 1 story at a time whilst I read other books, and then just continue to do that for months. So I think that is the kind of ideal way that I would want to consume this. However, for the sake of the project, obviously it's not quite what is happening. So we're talking about this author right here. The first story is set in a city where you have to, if you find yourself lacking resources, you kind of start selling whatever you have until you have nothing else to sell other than literally your soul and your being. And they put your, I'm gonna say essence, into essentially an android, and they call you a ghost. And then we follow someone who the ghosts adopted. However, I will say I was literally like a couple of pages from finishing it, but I just kept putting it off and I would just not read for days. Get up. So I decided to DNF. But then we had another story called Tong Ton Summer, and I really did enjoy this one. This was through a POV of a child, so the writing style, I'm going to assume, was to match that. And we really are following someone who's very young here. I think they're like 7 or 8, somewhere around that age, and they live with their family, and their grandfather has recently really declined in their health, so they're moving them in to their home. Eventually they bring out this kind of experimental little robot companion. I don't want to say too much, but basically it evolves into kind of elder care, a tool for elders to live a life differently. I really enjoy this one. And I do tend to quite enjoy the themes of younger person and an elder person. I'm thinking kind of like the way Home Gets Longer and Longer. That one is such a fantastic novella. If you haven't read that, please do. It's about a grandfather who's going through Alzheimer and the grandchild. But read it. And then there was a third story by this author called Night Journey of the Dragon Horse. And I DNF'd this one after a couple of pages. It's a lot of... this one is definitely different. We are in a post-human world, and this cyber robot that is tied to Chinese mythology is wandering around deserted Earth until they find, I want to say like a bat? I think it was a bat. It was not for me, not at the time. Which is interesting because this is an author I really liked one of the stories and DNF'd too. And then we're moving into this author who only one story, but is, I want to say, one of the longest ones here. It's like over 50 pages or something. And this one is called The City of Silence. And The City of Silence, an extreme case of censorship where it's taking, I think, similar concepts from the dystopian sci-fis of the early days, but including something that they didn't really do, which is the technology that we have and all of the, you know, possibilities that we now have that probably a lot of the early authors did not really think about because they didn't really have a lot of point of reference, I guess. In this world, people have their own personal access codes to the web, but the web is like literally just a couple of... You don't even know what specs your computer have. You only have a couple of tabs. You have to be allowed like a time and a place to log on. There's always a reason. And on top of that, every day you get a list of safe words that are... or like healthy words, I think they were called, that you can use. And anything outside of that is reprimandable and punishable. They moved past the bit where they have a banned list of some words that will get you in trouble, and now you have a list that keeps getting shorter and shorter and shorter of the safe words. So people are trying to communicate, but then you also have earpieces that then they actually listen to you while you talk outside of the internet, and the same rule applies, so you can't escape it. And so some people are struggling to convey what they actually mean with these words because a lot of regular words are getting banned because people are finding ways to use regular words to convey some unhappiness or criticism of the state. I think we'll just call it the state. Just losing hope entirely that they are becoming mute almost. This once again had like, and I don't know if this is a common thing, but this once again had that kind of like very instant love, almost obsession. Just seems to be like reoccurring a lot. Worthwhile story to read, and even if you're like wanting to seek them out separately. Next one is going to be very exciting because it is the title. It is the title of the entire book. So I was like, hey, they did the thing. They did the thing. They said the name. So I will let you know when I'm done with that. I wonder if this is going to be a very...
Much later.
Hello. I fully remember where I stopped, but I feel like I was up to date with you that I reached the Invisible Planets part of the short stories. And I want to say I lost my bookmark, so I don't know anymore. I want to say that I've started here, and I was like intrigued to continue. I had such a beautiful reading month in September because I knew this was my like continuation of the project, because I think also my last book was short stories for what you're looking for is in the library. I think I'm just maxed out, and I don't want to like put myself in a slump on this. So despite me actually really enjoying this, I'm not getting rid of this book, and I am actually really excited to pick this back up when I want like a little short story of a sci-fi dose in here. I just don't want it now. And I've waited enough for myself to get back to like, actually I could use a little story here or there. But it's the middle of October now. It's literally the 15th of October today. Let's get this project wrapped up. I just don't feel like reading it. I just, like, I know deep in my soul I'm just doing now because of the project, and I'm not in the mood for it. So I'm not going to shoot myself in the foot. It is completely against the entire premise of this project. So I'm not going to do that to myself, because that is just not smart. Not smart move. So we're not going to do that. I'm keeping this book, and I still have a bit less than the half, but like a substantial amount left if I want to pick it back up. I just don't want it now. And instead of forcing myself, I'm just gonna wrap it up as we are. I feel like it's been so long, I actually have to load up the previous episode to see what I actually do in the at the end. Hold on. Wow, my memory is truly abysmal, but everything like blurs together when you read like in between stuff. Anyway, this is the current situation. And I also don't remember if I said I'm gonna keep it or yeet it, but now with time has passed as well, and I'm gonna yeet it. I've decided. But I am still interested in A Deadly Education, but I am also now not really interested in spinning silver as much. So if that comes up in the next one, I may actually already side yeet. I'm not quite sure. Then I did read and finish Battle Royale, but I am not keeping it. I'm deciding this now. Maybe I just woke up and I've chosen... Hello?
This is food for you.
Food for me. Ooh, beautiful. Nom, nom. I'm just kind of like, it happened. I read it. What a round. Then we have S, and this is the like very hard one for me to decide, because realistically, I don't know if I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna put it in keep for now, tentatively. And as I just said, I am keeping this. I really did enjoy some of it, but you really just need to be in the kind of mood for short stories as well. And I was for part of it, but it did still take me a little bit longer to read because you obviously don't have that like inertia. It's just not the time. But I'm happy that I had a good time with it. It's not a DNF. I don't think that it counts as a DNF when you're like consuming short stories and you're just like putting it down. But I'll come back to it. So... but I hope you enjoyed this. Episode 3 genuinely feels so much longer because I feel like it took me so long, this episode. I'm very excited to see what the next one holds. Maybe I'll just jump right into it as soon as I'm done with this one. I'm really hoping that I have all of the footage from this very sporadically done episode and that you had a good time. As always, let me know if you read any of these and had a different experience or a similar experience. Let me know what you think. And I'll see you next time. Bye.